over me. She's over me. She comes on with her hypnotic dance. She holds me here with only a glance. She's over me. She's over me. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the very late Paranormal Portal Bedtime Stories from Beyond. I'm your host, Brent Thomas, and I'm all clamped up in here. You let me tell you, huh? I'm telling you, man, I don't know what's going on. Some strange driver sound issues or something are going on. I don't know. I gotta probably tear things down and re-put things together again. Something's up though. The sound is terrible. I think I got it straightened out for now. I did a big, long reboot and reconfiguration. That's why we're starting late now. Don and I kind of threw a Band-Aid on it last night. How you doing, Rick? Purple Hobbit, good to see you. Linda, hello. Lewis, yeah, I'm late. I'm sorry, I'm late. I didn't mean it. It's not my fault. It's the damn internets. They're blocking my attempts to get close to you guys. I don't know. It's not fair, is it? But what do you do? I hope you guys are doing great. Thank you so much for being here and being a part of our shows. Obviously, that's you guys bring a lot to every show. There's no question. I had to get that light out of my face. Little purple light shining right in my skull. But I'm glad to see you all here. And Nick, good to see you. Your new name. Glad to see the. What did he say? He said, Nick Johnson, I was literally just watching your last live feed. Well, I'm glad that you managed to make it to this one, Nick. It's great to see you, and thanks. I think you'll love it here. Everybody in our chat room is just exceptionally great people. We have, no kidding, honestly, the coolest chat room I've ever seen, and I know I'm biased, but I've seen a lot of chat rooms in my days. Let me just tell you, I got some chat mileage on my fingers here, and yeah, these are the greatest people ever. So I'm glad you're here as well, Nick. Thanks for being a part of the show. Again, the phone number's open. I have no idea how Skype's going to sound, but I imagine it'll work. I don't know. I need a tech guy. I need a big production thing, where I just kind of show up and sit down and do a show and then get up afterwards and go, and then somebody else worries about all this other stuff. That's what I need. I need that kind of deal. I don't know how to get that though. Maybe as we grow, we'll be able to afford a tech guy, but we can't even afford us right now. So, but you do what you can with what you got, and that's what you're getting. And hope you're okay with that, because that's all I can give you. But I think it'll be a good show. We started late, so we got a lot of time to check it out. Duke and I just got done recording a podcast that'll be releasing tomorrow, this afternoon as well. So it's just been a busy day. It's been an extraordinarily busy day, but hopefully it's all worth the new grays that I'm sure I'm getting. Actually, my hair is all white, just for the record, but I do dye my hair because I found that I don't like looking like a corpse quite yet. I don't like that so much. But anyway, not that anything wrong with gray hair, just me wearing gray hair just looks, well, it's actually white, but I just feel like I look like I'm an albino, and I have nothing against albinos, except I'm not used to seeing me look like one. And so I keep my hair colored for the most part, but I'm never really anal retentive about it. I don't care if the roots grow out 3 inches and then I redo it. So I just have fun with it. So whatever it is, wherever you are, thank you for being here and being a part of the show. But I guess that's about all the intro I got to give you. So I hope you're ready because it's really time for bed. Thanks, Cam. I appreciate that. Cam says, dude, rock that white. You look so cool. You know, if I'm ever going to go all white, I'm going to grow it long and go white. I'm not going to do short white here. That's not going to happen. So I'll do it long. And Lewis, you're right. Chris Geo could be my tech guy, except for all of the problems I have, he has like 50 more of them because he's not only running a business and a station and a network, he's also just keeping up with his own stuff. So I'm sure he doesn't have the time to dedicate to make sure my show's going off. And in fact, most of what you see as you're watching the Portal live streams is as the result of Mr. Geo stepping in and helping me out a whole bunch. I mean, this show is truly the culmination of his efforts to help me make it into what it is, including the artwork that you're seeing around the frame here. He didn't do that, but he did one version that we had just to give us a panels to put it up on. But the person that did this artwork around the edges is also a longtime friend of our network, Truth Frequency Radio, and his name is Nick Zervos, and he put this all up for me. And Chris actually helped me put together this chat box that's on screen here that is working. And he did it for his own show, and then he connected with me and helped me set it up on my show. So he's already bent over backwards so many times for me. So I really owe him a great debt of gratitude, and he's a great friend as well. So anyway, not that that's what the show's about, but but since you mentioned that, Lewis, I thought I'd say that. How's everybody doing tonight? You guys good? Let's see who's here, because I feel like talking to, let's see how many are here. It looks like a lot of you. 35 already here. Well, thanks, guys, for putting up with me being so late, but it was sound issues. I had a lot of trouble. But 5 Hazel's here. Beastly Bronco's here. Cameron's here. Cha-Cha is here. D Swagger, sorry, is here. Deb Varner. Hello, Deborah. Fiddleback guy is in here. And Flashback FRG, good to see you. Jason Herman, good to see you, Jason Herman. Awesome. Linda, somebody else just came in. Fiddleback guy, Flashback. Something changed because everything jumped. Oh, Big Rob 30,080 is in here. Or 30,300,080, whatever the hell that number is. Hi, Big Rob. Good to see you. Jason Herman, Linda, Lewis, Ta, MCAT's up in here. Marilena is in here. Good to see you. Mary Brim. Hello, Mary. Mogoyon is in here. How you doing, brother? Negan the Savior. We all need a savior, Negan. Thanks for showing up. Do you know how to work technology? Let me know. We'll talk. Nick Johnson, how you doing, Nick? Again, Noli is here. Real Deal is here. Hello, Real Deal and Noli. And Terrestrial Mac is here. Terrestrial, I was just whipping out the guitar just a little bit ago. I was strumming up a new song. I'm going to try to record one really quick. Let's see. The Weird Desk is here. Tiffany Billieu is here. Good to see you, Tiffany. And, of course, our very own Duke Sullivan of World Bigfoot Radio is in here helping to keep an eye on things. So I appreciate all you guys. Christina came in. I see that. I don't think I saw that before. And our good friend Cade came in. Cade Moya, of course, from Australia. He's down under there, and he has the Believe podcast. So please check him out. He's been a great friend of the show as well, and has helped us out a ton, and has gotten us in touch with a lot of people from Australia that have appeared on our shows as well. So thank you, Cade, for being here, brother. It's always a pleasure. Oh, Blessings for Julie just showed up. Great to see you. Blessings for Julie. Yeah, so the list keeps growing, but I'll try to keep you guys entertained as well as I know how. My eyes have been watering too. So yeah, the tech issues, the sound, I don't know what the hell is going on. I think Windows snuck in an update on me and really screwed me up, but they just do that. And I thought I had updates turned off, or at least ask me first. So yeah, I did something on the sly and got out things all good and screwed up. Thank you, Microsoft, so much. I appreciate it. Thank you. Yeah, that's such his life. But anyway, let's see what I can do about entertaining you now. I got to keep that part of the deal going. Oh, I thought I read this one. I did. I did read this one. I'm sure I did. No, I never did. That's right. I pulled it up, and I don't think I ever read it because we got phone calls. That's right, yesterday. And the phone calls are open, ladies and gentlemen. 720-923-0500. Again, 720-923-0500. If you want to be on the show or you got something paranormal of your very own to share, I'd love to hear it because then I could sit back and listen and not have to do all the work. And honestly, I always love your guys' participation the most. That's the greatest part of doing a show like this is hearing your guys' experience and see, kind of see through your stories and see what you've seen. So this one is coming from California dreaming. I hope I don't get a copyright strike for that, but anyway. What's going on in California? In 1997, I just moved into a new apartment with my 2-week-old baby girl. I was going through a rough time. A couple of months before, I had separated from my husband, and we'd been married 9 months. Oh, geez. And I was 7 months pregnant. Oh, that poor woman. Well, I don't know. Here I am making judgments. That dick. No, I don't. I don't know. Sometimes people just aren't good together. Anyway, I had a C-section, and it was pretty hard for me to move around. Oh, man, that is poor girl. So the next to my bed and my nightstand, I always kept a thermos with warm water and a can of formula, and the baby in the bassinet was right beside my bed, and I also kept food for myself on the nightstand, and I was living on snacks. I didn't have a car or anybody to call to get me food. Wow. I'd been in the apartment for maybe 2 or 3 days when I woke up at 6 a.m. on one day to the baby fussing, needing to be fed, and I made her bottle, picked her up, and fed her, and I noticed that I was extremely tired and felt achy all over. Oh, dear God. I barely had the strength to put her back in her bassinet, and I was freezing and couldn't stop shaking. She had an infection. I was running a high fever and had a C-section, and I think something was wrong. I took everything I had to get me up, still wrapped in a blanket. I went to the bathroom, turned on the hot water, and went in still with my clothes on and wrapped up in the blanket. And I remember passing out and then waking up with the water still running. Soaking wet, I crawled back to bed. I left the blanket in the shower and didn't have the strength to get another one from the closet, or for that matter, change into dry clothes. Wow, that is a nightmare. I was in so much pain that I remember thinking this was it. I was going to die. I remember thinking that my baby was going to die from starvation. I had locked the door with a deadbolt. Nobody knew we were there, and I didn't even have a phone. I tried but didn't have the strength to get up and get help. I was beginning to lose consciousness when I felt a blanket being pulled over me. I felt someone pull my hair back away from my face and pat my head. I tried to open my eyes and tried to talk, but I was too much effort. I remember I would come in and out of it, and I would hear my baby starting to fuss, and a woman's soft voice whisper, and the noise the bassinet makes when it's being rocked. When I finally woke up, I was confused and disoriented. I sat up and didn't know how much time had passed. I froze when I thought about my baby. I was too scared to turn and look at her because I thought she was going to be dead. I snapped out of it and touched her, and I could see she was breathing. I was so relieved. I looked at the clock and saw that it was 5:45 a.m. I had been out for almost 24 hours. My baby woke up a few minutes after, hungry, but otherwise perfectly fine. This is the first experience of many I would have throughout the years with whom I think is my daughter's guardian angel. Later, I would like to share a few other experiences with you and ask you what you think, because even though that day she was nice to me, I did go through some scary moments with her when she was trying to hurt me, but I'll save those for later. Well, those might be two very different entities, though, too. But wow, what a great thing. If you're going to have a guardian angel show up, that's a great time, because that poor woman, my God, that would be absolute nightmare. Eesh. Now, ladies and gentlemen, just for clarity, these are stories I'm finding. They're old stories from out on the interwebs and stuff. So I don't know who this person is, and have no way to reach out to them and find out what happened. But I mean, they're most of them are decades old, but still very cool stories, still very relevant. Let's see. All right, I'm pulling up a few more because that was the last of them that I had pulled up for last night. But wow, what a powerful story. Let me get a drink. Sorry. How's everything in the chat room, guys? Sorry I was late again. I really feel bad. I don't like when things get in the way of the schedule. I try to be really diligent about that and get the show on when the show is supposed to be on. But I always say 7 days a week, 7 p.m. Pacific Standard Time, there's a portal going on, but not tonight. That was not the case. Microsoft had other plans. Those bastards. Okay, let's go to Pennsylvania. See what's going on over there. Hi, Deb. Oh, you're talking to me or who? There's 2 T's in there, so I'm not sure. Hey, all right. I'm just looking to see if I'm missing something. Okay. There's 2 T's in that one, too. Is there a 2T Brent in here? What am I missing? You guys are confusing me now. Don't confuse me. I can't do it. All right, let's go to Pennsylvania and see what's going on here. This story actually takes place before another story that I submitted. And this story is what really started me in realizing the ghost in my woods can be rather hostile. Jeez, that's not good. Okay, I used to have a small camcorder. I could take pictures in negative art. On previous ghost hunts with my friend, Kevin, he had a camera that could film in negative art, and we realized it's easier to catch ghosts in negative art. So I decided to take my camcorder out in the woods with a friend, Joe. Well, we went all the way to where the tribe once settled. I know this because this is where most of the ghosts are, and because trees don't grow there at all. I was taking pictures, and I took a picture of the ground, and you actually see a flame on the ground, but only in the picture. I didn't see it when I was looking there. In a couple other pictures, you can see shadow people in the woods, just like walking around and stuff like that. I took a picture of a tree, and this is completely different tree from my last story, so if you don't understand, I will explain. The tree from my last story is right next to my house. The tree I'm talking about here is way back in the woods. But in this picture, you can see a noose hanging off the tree right at that moment. I turned to show Joe the picture, and I just see a huge branch hit him in the head and drop. It cut his head from the top of his ear to the bottom. Oh, no. Being somewhat psychic, as I have mentioned before, I got this horrible feeling of chaos and hatred. It seemed like at once the world started spinning faster. So we got out of there, and by the time I know the branch didn't fall off of a tree, because I saw it hit him, and all the trees around there are pine, and this is an oak tree branch. That's the end of the story. So that is crazy. You gotta be careful not to anger the spirits. They don't like that at all. Oh, that one's cool too. Huh. Okay, and here's another one from Illinois. And we'll see what's going on in Illinois. I bet I'm going to have to watch the time differently. What time did we start, guys? I guess we'll probably just go to 8:30 because I don't know what the hell time we started. All right, so when we first moved into the home I currently live in, my friend had to leave right afterwards to go out of town for her job. And I'd never lived in a detached home before, and never in one so far away from other people. The house was the first one completed on this block of the subdivision, and there were no houses behind us at all, just woods and wetlands. It was November and cold here in the south suburbs of Chicago, and I knew I would be all alone for some time. The nearest neighbors were strangers and some distance away. My housemate went off to the next town on business, leaving me to the silence of the brand new home. The first night I stayed up as late as I could and even left the upstairs bathroom light on to keep me from feeling so nervous. Early the first morning, I heard noises coming from above my bedroom in the crawl space. I had no idea who or what could be up there making noises, but I tried not to panic. Excuse me. I got up there, turned on the light, and peeked around, and I expected to see a family up there making all that noise. And later that day, I called my friend and mentioned the noise, but to no avail. I guess she didn't want want to make me even more scared. Okay. That night I went to bed late and very tired. Some of our new furniture had been delivered, and I'd busied myself setting up the family/media room. In my bedroom, I turned off all the lights and got under the thick comforter, happy the way the family room looked. And just as I was about to nod off, I began to hear a slow noise coming from below. Either the utility or mudroom has a door to the backyard, or the family room, which is directly below. In my mind, someone had come in through that lower level door and was making their way through the family room and up to the main level of the house. Well, I froze in terror. I was in a home that had no neighbors, and it was winter time, and there was no one to help me. The sound seemed to go on forever and then stop, only to start up again over and over. And I stayed still and listened, trying hard not to let my imagination get the best of me. Then the sounds began again, and they were moving around. It seemed someone somewhere below, maybe in the living room or kitchen. We have an open floor plan, so it can be confusing. And then, to my relief, the noises stopped again. Well, I still continued to listen until finally I did fall asleep. The next morning, just before daybreak, the noises above began again. And I've never heard anything like that before and couldn't stand it anymore. I put on my robe and a coat over that and stormed downstairs, out the front door. Once in the middle of the driveway, I could see most of the western part of the roof over the bedrooms. Crows. It looked like about a dozen of them, pecking and crawling and generally making a nuisance of themselves all over the roof. Well, they totally ignored me and continued with their crow business. A year or so later, a kestrel took up residence somewhere nearby and took care of them. I felt some relief to find out for myself, at least, what those noises were. But that night, the sounds below continued to make sleeping really hard. I fell asleep only to be woken by what sounded like slow, steady footfalls coming up the stairs. That's so diabolical. I was scared. I didn't want to, but was resolved to fight. My earlier feeling of success had only evaporated a little. Then logic started to nudge me. Footsteps coming up the stairs? We have carpeting on the stairs. How was I hearing footsteps? I listened only to hear the footfalls. Never got any closer to the room I was in. I was still scared, but I had to investigate. Turning on every light switch I got near, I made my way out into the hallway and came down to the living room and peeked over the wood railing into the family room. No ghosts, or intruders there. Down to the family room, I looked into the lower level bathroom and then made my way to the utility room, and I turned on the light. No one, nothing. And just then the furnace came on, and I was surrounded by the footfalls right there in the room with me. The utility room has a concrete floor and couldn't sound like footsteps or footfalls on a wooden floor. I got a chair from the family room and stood on it, and there in the top of the ducts leading to and from the furnace was a large piece of wood left by one of the carpenters. When the heat made the ducts expand, the wood somehow bumped around, making the sound of someone walking on wooden floors. Gave me a few sleepless nights and more than a little scare, but you gotta love carpenters. Oh, thank you, Beastly Bronco. That's awesome. He says, game over. Come on, we're just getting started here. What do you mean, game over? That's wonderful. Thanks, brother. That helps a bunch. We really appreciate that. That's really cool. Awesome. Give you the thumbs up. All right. Well, that's kind of a cool story. In that, sometimes it is just the mundane stuff. You know, it's hard to figure out. It's hard to debunk stuff sometimes, but if you get over the fear and look into it, a lot of times you can just find it's just really mundane stuff. Especially moving into a new house. It always takes everybody just a little time to get used to a house. But I got a call here, so let's get to this call and find out what's going on. All right, anonymous caller, you are on the air.
Hey, man, I just wanted to let you know that it's official. There's a race of alien women who are abducting men with big peckers. Now, you're not in any danger.
All right, thanks for that call. I appreciate that. Yeah. This is a family show, so I can't do that stuff. I apologize. I know the joke. I've heard the joke before, and it's funny. I get it. It's funny, but I can't do that on the show. So got to keep it friendly, family friendly. But thanks for the call, whoever that was. I appreciate it. That's good humor. Don't get me wrong, but I can't. Yeah, it's got to. We got little ones listening, so I don't want to start having conversations like that. So I apologize, but I had to end it. Hope you understand. All right, so let's move along here. Oh my God. Okay, let's move along. What's next? Yeah, he was talking about their beaks. I'm sure, Ken. That's what it was. They were woodpeckers. I think they're abducting woodpeckers. So, all right. So, never a dull moment here on the portal, ladies and gentlemen. We get all kinds, but that's good. That keeps it fresh and interesting. But please, if you're going to call in, try to stay away from adult kind of conversations. Because first of all, I'm not prepared to have adult conversations most of the time anyway. So, second of all, because there are little ones out there. Okay, let's see what's next. This one's Washington. I'm not sure where to start. I moved into this house about 4 years ago. I was about 11, and from the first time I stepped into the house, it felt like this was the house my mom was going to buy. It's an okay-sized house. My room is the attic. Good-sized room, closet, big window. Ceiling is curved in. Well, the first time I started to feel weird was every time I walked up the stairs. It felt like someone was watching, and I was the only one who noticed it, and I thought it was nothing until later when my room was finished with my bed and all that stuff in it. More stuff was happening, and I had one of those glass light things with a block of glass containing pictures of a wolf or something, and it sits on a stand with a light in it, and it spins. I had it sitting on my dresser, not on the edge, but towards the back of it. I was asleep, and I heard a loud thud. I sat up quickly, and my kitten jumped up and looked around the room as I did. I looked towards my closet and saw a foggy outline of a man, and then it was gone. Well, I slowly got up and looked around the room when I found the glass block on the floor, about 4 or 5 feet away from my dresser. And this is only the beginning of my experiences. And it seems these experiences keep piling up. I see, hear, and feel more stuff like every night now. Yeah, I think there's something to that. If you're living in a haunted place, a place like that, I do think you get kind of opened up, for lack of a better term. I think that you become more receptive to that energy just by being exposed to it. That doesn't surprise me at all that this person's experiences are growing and they're experiencing more, because I think you just become aware of more. So, excuse me. Sorry about that. Okay, here's one from Florida. It says, I'm kind of embarrassed by my experiences. Well, this has happened multiple times. I'm new to this stuff, but I've read stories and similar things have happened to me. And I'll be sitting in my bed in the dark, but not too dark, and I'll feel something strange. It's hard to explain. The next thing you know, there would be some kind of black creature on me. I can hear him breathing, and he'll lick me in the face, and I can't move. I feel like something is holding me down, some strange force. Okay, one time I was able to talk and told him to get the F off of me and went away. Sometimes I'll be laying on my side and it'll okay, I knew it was a male because it had the equipment. Okay. Well, what the hell am I reading? By the way, I'm a male, so I guess this is all right. Well, I don't I was just talking about how it's a family show. This story is totally screwing me up. I have to start and stop here because I don't pre-read these, ladies and gentlemen. I'm reading them with you. And yeah, Says it looks like a Dementor, though. But I can't read anymore. So next. Yeah, thanks, guys. Everybody's like, next. Yes, let's move along, shall we? Wow. I didn't know that story was chock full of uh, of succubus, incubus stuff. Anyway, here we go. This one's from South Carolina. Sorry, that one had me a little flustered. This is another update on Bart. I think he's brought another spirit here where I live. What's the first update on Bart? What the hell is this? I guess we've already read 3 other stories this person has submitted to this bulletin. So it says this is another story on Bart. I think he's brought another spirit to where I live. I just get the feeling that there's more out there than just Bart. As you know, Bart is a very mean spirit when I moved in, but he or she has done a complete turnaround. But recently I've been experiencing things that have a different feel. When they happen, then Bart gives off. A different feel when they happen that Bart gives off. Okay, so he's feeling a different spirit, like a weird energy. Sorry. On July 28th, 2008, I was sleeping when my mattress shifted. I didn't think anything of it, really, until I woke up. The head of the mattress was shifted a good 9 inches away from the wall. And the next night, on July 29th, around midnight, I heard a scampering sound, and it felt like something jumped onto the bed. I'm one of those people that sleeps with the covers over my head, so there's no way I could have discreetly have looked at whatever it was. Soon I heard a whispering sound. It wasn't muffled, but clear and distinct. I could make out what it was saying, though, and it sounded like, "My creek, out, away, go, mine," which made absolutely no sense to me, but it kept repeating this over and over, so it meant something to the spirit, and I was convinced. I had imagined it the first time, but whatever wanted me to hear it because I felt it poke me every time it spoke. Another thing, Bart doesn't speak. He'll pant, hiss, and etc., but he's never once spoken. Bart stopped doing things to scare me a long time ago. Why he would start up again, I don't know. Plus, the whispering entity, it has a different vibe than Bart. I also think it likes to watch me do things. I often get the feeling I'm being watched in the shower or while I'm changing, and it really creeps me out. This new spirit is also quite small. I would guess maybe 2 feet at the absolute maximum. It likes to crawl around on all fours, and it has claws or something because I've had several bags that just get torn open. The new entity often appears as a small black shadow just in my peripheral, and I also don't think Bart likes this new force. It just feels weird to be sitting on the couch and just sensing sudden animosity. Bart likes taking the cinnamon from the pantry, while lately he hasn't. It's like he doesn't want it anymore, and I think Bart might be getting pressured out, and I don't want that. In many ways, he's become a constant companion while I'm at home, and I don't want to lose him to this new force. Then today, which is August 8th or August 4th of 2008, I'm just sitting at my computer typing, and an empty soda can just fell over along with my brush. At first I thought then maybe a draft from the AC knocked it over, but where the can was on the desk, it should have just fallen over on the table, not landed on the floor, and my brush was also sitting on some papers when it fell. The really confusing part and scary was the fact that the papers never moved when the brush did. They just sat there. And on August 2nd, 2008, I was sitting at my computer, and I heard a noise behind me, and I turned around to see my pillow fall off the bed. No big deal. I go back to working on my computer, and I heard another noise. Looking again, I see a book sitting where the pillow had been before it fell. Oddly enough, the book had been on the kitchen counter for 2 days, and I had seen it there when I went to get a drink from the kitchen. I picked up the book, looked at it, set it down, and went back to my computer to find that all my programs had been shut down and my camera was standing upside down. I honestly think by now either I'm going crazy or something doesn't like me all that much, or likes me too much. How can I help Bart? Or better yet, how can I help myself? Does it matter that I'm a teenager? I've heard it does, but I don't know for sure. I'm just trying to figure out what the heck Bart and this new thing are up to. Please help. I don't know. This person is no longer a teenager, though. As you can tell, the story's quite old, but I don't know. Again, I know it sounds kind of condescending, and I really don't mean it this way. But I think kids have a tendency to embellish some details. Every story sounds better if you add a little pepper to it. So I don't know, and I don't know what the situation they're dealing with. It sounds like an awful lot of information and some very specific information, which confuses me because you would have to be really psychically tuned in to get that much clarity. And I don't know. If you're that tuned in, why are they not seeing more then? I don't know. There's just something about that story that's kind of odd. Sorry, I'm going to get a drink here. I just hate this winter heat, the heating. I love that it's warm and I'm not freezing. Don't get me wrong, but it's so dry. Oh my God. My skin just feels like it's turning to leather on me. I need tropical living, I think. I think that's what I need. All right, so let's go to California. Okay, so we're almost at 8, so I think we're going to go another half hour. If that's agreeable to all of you, I don't mean to keep you from your nightly activities, but since we started late, it's hard to tell. I don't know exactly what time we started, but we're going to go for 8:30 is going to be the cutoff time, I think, tonight, because you guys were patient and waited, so I know it's going to be longer than an hour, but I do have some things I got to get to before I pass out from lack of sleep later tonight. I got to get our podcast will be uploaded tonight. I got to finish constructing it, and then I got to upload it. So make sure you check out the podcast, ladies and gentlemen. If you're not familiar with our podcast, it comes out 3 times a week, Monday, Wednesday, and Friday, wherever you get podcasts from. We're on Pandora, iTunes, iHeart, Spotify, Chatbox, and just a whole bunch more of them. And just look for the Paranormal Portal, and you should find it. We've been doing really some amazing numbers, and got all of you to thank for that. Thank you guys for continuing to support what we're doing. It's just been amazing. All right, so this one is California. When I was little, around 5 or 6 years old, I had my first encounter with the paranormal. The incident's a little foggy in my mind since it happened over a decade ago, but I'll do my best to recall. I remember waking up sometime in the night and I wasn't able to move, except for my eyes. I was lying on my side facing a wall, with my back to the door. The house was completely silent, which meant my 2 older sisters and my parents were already all asleep. For the first couple of minutes, I tried my hardest to get up, but I was faced with repeated failure. In this situation, I tried to do what any reasonable child would do. I tried yelling for my mom, but my mouth wouldn't budge. I was scared at this point and very curious. I remember thinking, what's going on? So I stared at my white wall, unable to move until I fell back asleep. I woke up the next morning perfectly fine and everything was back to normal. I just dismissed the whole occurrence as a bad dream or something and didn't give it a second thought. Around 10 years passed until the next incident. About 2 months ago, I was lying in bed half asleep, and then I heard my floor creak. As I'm about to get up and see what's there, I realize I can't move again. I was terrified. I take a couple of breaths. I tried to calm down, and I start to concentrate. My body starts to move. Why am I hearing a female voice? My body starts to move. My body starts to move with a little resistance, or a lot of resistance. Slowly but surely, I sit up in my bed and turn on the light. I quickly scan the room to see if anyone is there, but I found no one. With my mobility completely restored, I get up and check my closet, and underneath my desk, again, I come up empty-handed, and I'm all alone. For some reason, I still had the feeling something was there watching me. Now standing in the middle of my room, I start to randomly turn around to make sure whatever presence I felt didn't somehow get behind me. After maybe 30 seconds of this, I start to feel silly and kind of embarrassed for doing something like that. And I stop, I jump back into bed, and maybe an hour of listening to hear anything, and I fall asleep. Later that night, I wake up again completely paralyzed. Well, except for my eyes. Only this time it was stronger. The best way I can describe it is as if it was holding me in a tighter grip. Thinking back to earlier that night, I tried to focus on moving my arm. As I tried to lift my arm, it just started to shake. Similar to how your arms shake when when you try your best to bench press a weight that's too heavy for you. After trying so hard, I started to get fatigued, and I tried taking deep breaths, but for some odd reason, my lungs wouldn't fill up all the way. It was as if something was sitting on top of me, cutting off my air circulation, getting more scared as the seconds pass. I can feel my adrenaline rush through me. Beads of sweat start forming at the top of my forehead as I continued to resist. Then out of fear and desperation, I grunt something out, and with all my might, I sit up as fast as I can. And the pressure is gone. And I was taking full advantage of my restored lung capacity. I turn on the light and look around. Again, I find nothing. Only this time I didn't feel as if anything were there watching me. Even without the feeling of being watched, I was still horrified and absolutely reluctant to go back to sleep. Eventually, I grew weary and slept with the TV on. And since that night, haven't had any more experiences of sleep paralysis. Looking back on what I thought was a childhood nightmare, I realize whatever caused it when I was a kid probably causes it now. And I'm very curious to find out what did this to me. There are probably a few things I should mention that might help. For one, I know it wasn't a residential haunting because between the nights... What? A residential haunting? I wonder if they mean residual. Because between the nights when I was little to the more recent occurrence, I had moved to a new house about 3 miles away. And also when the second night of terror happened, I had gone through a rather harsh breakup a few weeks before. Could it be possibly that my emotional state has something to do with this? For the first night when I was a little kid, I can't remember my emotional state. And lastly, I can't remember exactly what I grunted. I'm positive that it was either God or Jesus. Personally, I believe that grunt was what granted me my freedom. Any ideas? Well, that's a tough one. It's hard to figure that stuff out. Huh. How you guys doing in there? Good? Everybody good? Enjoying the ride so far? The SS Portal is still embarking on its journey across the wide landscape of the spiritual aethers. Tomorrow's podcast is about Bigfoots and stuff, too. It's going to be a good one. It's always good when Duke and I talk. We just can talk. And that makes for a fun show. And I'm going to call that one Fireside Chat, a Fireside Chat with Duke. And then Dash Bigfoot, I think is what I'll call it. Because it was a good conversation. We covered a lot of ground. I think you'll enjoy it. Okay, so this one's coming from South Carolina. It's a Ouija board. Oh, Ouija board or seance. Let's see what's going on here. A lot of stories tonight are referencing other stories, and I don't like that because it's hard to know. We cover so many stories on these shows that it's hard to really put it right back. Put it back together. Click the like button, Duke says. You got to do what Duke says. After all, he is the Duke. I've given you one experience that has to do with Victoria. That was the whole deal at the rooftop voice, etc., and has gradually gotten obsessive about ghosts and spirits as we've gotten older. Needless to say, the rooftop encounter did nothing for her curiosity. While I was talking to her on the phone one night, she began talking about how she'd been trying to summon spirits. This is a rich kid who could easily satisfy her thirst for ghouls and goblins by purchasing books. She began explaining a rather expansive progress that she'd found on some random websites. She began explaining that I would need to come over to help her with her makeshift Ouija board. At this point, I told her that she was crazy and she needed to stop obsessing over spirits. The next day, she called me complaining that she had a headache and saying that she'd tried to Ouija on her own. At this point, I was yelling and pretty much calling her an idiot. But as I'm yelling at her, the connection starts breaking up and crackling, and I tell her that, and we hang up. Oh, thank you, Peter. That's amazing. Great work, Brent. Love from Australia. Fortunately, I miss a lot of the live streaming, but catch up in the evenings. Oh, man, that's awesome, brother. And no worries, man. Whenever you can make it, that's wonderful. I just really appreciate that you're coming and checking them out. And thank you so much for the support. That means the world, brother. Thank you so much. Okay, so continuing on. So the phone was cracking up at the end of this one, and so they hung up. And the next day she called again to tell me she'd been getting a feeling she was being watched. As she was talking, the connection started breaking again. And when she gets done talking, she asked me what I'd been whispering while she was talking. Now, I had two options here, freak her out or call her crazy and hang up, and I chose the latter, but she called me back and insisted that something had been whispering. I listened to her as she explained what she thought the voice had said and wrote it down for giggles. From what she told me, it said, "I've got you. You can't escape. Hello, Victoria. And don't ignore me." As she discussed what these messages could mean, there was a sketchy sound, like the signal cutting in and out quickly, and we hung up after a while, and it was like 6 p.m. Now when she calls me back the next day, she says she hasn't heard the static all day, and when I ask what she's talking about, she replies, well, it didn't even come when I was talking to Aggie or Hannah. I tell her that she was probably just imagining the static talking to her, which was probable and still is in my mind. Before I discredit the story, I did only experience the static while talking to her, and mostly when she mentioned spirits and etc. And she insists she only heard or hears it when I talk to her on the phone. As she started talking more about the static and the connection started going funny, and I actually started hearing an almost totally electronic sounding voice, basically whispering. And when she asks if I hear him, the voice, I answer yes, and keep listening as she proceeds to begin to question the static. She would tell it to mess with the connection if it was a yes, or keep it clear if the answer was no. Eventually, she came to the conclusion it was a male spirit that had been torn from its path towards the light because it heard her calling, and now it was lost. The static plagued our phone conversations for a long time, and Victoria became obsessed with the static spirit on the phone, and she would call me and then just talk to this entity. I eventually told her that she should stop talking to it, to which she replied that it was her friend, and she could talk to it whenever she wanted. Now, I don't know what happened, but I haven't heard from the spirit in a while. Victoria is truly crushed about not talking to it, but I said it was for her own good, was it? I never bought the whole story about innocently being torn from its path, and I really just don't know what to think. Maybe I should just be upset that she tried to Ouija in a house all by herself. No protection other than something she found on a website. I really need help with this. Explanations wanted. Lastly, why did it only contact her when I was on the line? Was it attached to our phone line somehow? Did it want to put on a show? I know what I heard, and sadly, it was a landline, so I couldn't get any EVP, but then, again, all my recordings disappear in association with her. Very interesting. Very interesting indeed. I don't know, you got to be careful with stuff like that, ladies and gentlemen. I don't know what to think about the whole Ouija and alone. I've heard many people do it and have done just fine by it. I've heard many people say, don't do it alone. And I guess, I don't know. I don't know. There's a lot of nonsense out there about Ouija boards, ladies and gentlemen. There's a lot of fear mongering and stuff. And again, I don't think the board in and of itself is anything. It's not any more dangerous than your doormat. It's just a design, and it's only by using it that it can become a gateway of sorts. It doesn't intrinsically have a power of its own, unless you use it and then you incorrectly don't close the session and leave it open. Then it can become a portal. So and that's what you definitely don't want. But I don't know. I mean, it's not like these things are inherently evil and they will do evil and that's all they can do. But to each his own. Come to your own conclusion on that stuff, ladies and gentlemen. I don't mean to tell you what to believe or not to believe. I'm just telling you my 2 cents about it. But I just think a lot of people have a lot of terror just because they've heard some things, and I think with anything in life, you can't base your opinion based on the fact somebody once said something, so that's how you feel. Now, it doesn't fall in line with some people's religious paradigm, and I would just tell you then don't mess with it. For sure. If it feels like it's contrary to your faith, then don't. That's a bad thing for you to do. Because the problem is once you believe that it jeopardizes your protection, then it does. Because you believe that that's the case. So, if you feel like it's going to be a nasty thing to use a Ouija board, then for you it will be, for sure. Because that is what you're manifesting. And that's what you're channeling towards you. Energy follows intention. It is done unto you as you believe. That's what Jesus said. So, come to your own conclusions, but, be careful. Really, be careful if you're going to use them. Know what you're doing. Do some research. But just my 2 cents, of course. All right. I don't know what's going on. There's always so much going on in the chat room. And I just feel compelled. I really would like to just read. But then that's not much of a show for all you guys, right? Let's just read the chat. Everybody. Guys, I'll be back tomorrow at 7. We'll just read chat. That's not too entertaining, I don't think, right? I'll keep talking. 12 minutes after, so we got about 15 more minutes, roughly-ish. 17 more minutes, something like that. No, what are you sorry for, Tom? You're fine. You're fine. I'm not against them. They're just a board. If there is any underlying thing in the location, it can bring it forward a bit more. Yeah, probably right, Tom. Again, it's not. A friend of mine and I made some coffee tables in the design of the Ouija board. Very cool. Used one and had some weird things happen in his house because of it. Oh, I'm following your trail backwards here, Tom. I appreciate that. And again, you can bring things towards you. It does serve, I believe, as a beacon. So it says, Five Hazel says, I have a little book sense, a little street sense, a little horse sense, and a little common sense. And sometimes I put in my own 2 cents. Yeah, that's all I got is 2 cents, but I'm rubbing them together as hard as I can. Parathon, Brent, do it now. I can't, Ken. You know how much work that was. I still don't feel like my sleep is worked out quite yet. Of course, I sleep terrible anyway. It's what you put behind it, the energy, I suppose. You're right, Negan, exactly. So energy follows intention. That's the whole thing. So if you think using a Ouija board is going to be a horrible, dangerous, evil thing for you, that's what you're manifesting. That's your expectation. Now, everything, the physics, quantum physics, shows us that everything starts out as energy. That is the secret to miracles. Everything starts as energy. And we manifest energy. We create things in our lives, whether consciously or unconsciously. Well, we also create the terms of our lives in those manners that we expect. There is evil, then probably something evil is going to be channeled to you. It's kind of a magnetism, really. The occult systems of old would speak of magnetism. It's a very powerful idea, but it's just basically, what you believe is what you're going to get, or what you send out is what's going to return. It's the whole idea that you charge yourself with a magnetism of what you want, and you create an opposite magnetism to what you don't want. so that it repels. And however that works, or if opposite to those attract. I don't remember polarities, but I'm just telling you the principle behind those old schools of thought. It's what you send out is what you're going to manifest in your world. Now, there are just some things, evil things out there that are going to do their best to manifest themselves into your life too. But the key to that happening, of course, is fear. You become vulnerable with fear, and that's why so many people say, don't show fear. Don't show fear to ghosts. Don't show fear to spirits. And it's kind of, if you believe you're vulnerable, then you are. If you believe you're strong, then you are. And that's how your aura will represent that belief. And so if you allow yourself to become afraid, then you are allowing a submission of sorts to whatever's making you afraid. So never allow yourself to indulge fear. There are, scary situations. Don't get me wrong. I'm not saying you have to be, a rock. Nobody's a rock, but just try to keep your wits about you when you're dealing with spiritual stuff, because it's all about resonance. I mean, that's the key to all of this, in my opinion. So I hope that makes sense. I really do, because we really are the architects of our experience. I truly, fundamentally believe that on an extraordinarily profound level. But most of us don't know it. We just think that we're dealt these cards and that's just the way things work out. But we can shape this stuff. I really believe that. Okay, so let's go to California again and see what's going on. Hope you don't mind if I get up on the soapbox every once in a while. I just think those kind of things are important, and they're reinforcing ideas. And I hope that through the course of the show, maybe you pick up a good idea or a good thought, or maybe a little more information than what you had. And I'm not saying I have the answers. I really am not. There are no experts. What I am is an enthusiast, and I've done a whole lot of soul searching about it. I feel like for me I have some answers, but I can't be sure that I have your answers. And that's the distinction. You have to decide what your answers are. All right, let's go to California and see what's going on there. This story happened when my son was about 3.5, and I was pregnant with my daughter. It was 1995, and my son would spend his mornings watching the Ninja Turtles on Nickelodeon. He was very lonely, being homeschooled, and he didn't have any friends that were his age whom he could play with. Oh, poor guy. My husband and I decided that maybe it was time for him to go to kindergarten. It was hard for us to let go of our little boy, but we knew it was the right thing to do. It was a good decision, too, because we instantly saw a change in him. He was happier, more willing to learn, and he was nicer and more playful to my husband and I. And one day my son came home more happy and excited than usual. He immediately started telling me about his nice girl he had met named Natalia. He begged for my permission to let her come over for a play date, and I said it was fine, only I'd have to talk to her parents about it. Well, the next morning as I drove my son over to his kindergarten, I waited to meet little Natalia and her parents. My son excitedly introduced me to a very cute little girl and then ran off to go play with her somewhere. I introduced myself to her guardian, whom I found out then was only her foster parent. I learned that she had no father and that her mother was in rehab for the second time, and her mom had gone to jail for child abuse. Oh, that poor baby. Oh. And I only noticed then the large scars that Natalia bared. My heart melted as I watched the poor little girl play with her dolls happily, as I thought of all the horrible things that had been done to her. I found out that she had a rather strong case of acute leukemia, and that she didn't have much longer to live. Wow, that poor child. Whew. The next day, Natalia came over, and we noticed her symptoms as my husband and I watched them play. She would get very tired and then would have to lie down for it from time to time. Sometimes she would complain of a headache or dizziness, but other times the kids had a lot of fun and got very attached to each other, and she came over every Saturday since. About 2 months later, her health issues stopped her from coming. My husband and I grew much attached to little Natalia, and we were devastated when one day they took her to the hospital, and our son did not know what was going on and was very upset when we didn't see his best friend at school and on Saturday. He grew temperamental and really unhappy, and we were barely able to talk to him. A few days before Natalia's passing, my son and I went to the store and bought her a small teddy bear holding a little pink heart that said, "I love you." When you squeezed the little bear, it would squeak, "I love you," loudly. The same day, we drove to the hospital to say our goodbyes. Tears welled up in my eyes as we approached the little girl, very pale and drowsy on the hospital bed. My boy knew something was wrong, and as he gently laid the teddy bear next to her, he took her hand and started to cry. Oh, this is a heartbreaker. Oof. Hold it together. We'd only known her for a few months, but she made such a big impact on our family that we almost considered her like our own child. But leukemia got the best of her, and 3 days later, Natalia did die. She got the little teddy bear back from, I got the little teddy bear back from the foster parents, and I put it away in my closet. The coming weeks were hard for my son. He would refuse to play with any other kids at his kindergarten, and he would spend his time at home sitting alone in his little desk drawing, and he drew many pictures of Natalia, and once at dinner he asked where he was going to see her again. And I told him that she was going to be gone for a while and that he was not going to see her for a very long time. And he just dropped his head and left the table. Oh man, this is going to make me cry. Jesus. Ugh. Oh, jeez. Sorry. This is so emotional. That night at exactly 3, I was awoken by a loud sound coming from the closet. Sorry. It was Natalia's teddy bear. It said, "I love you." Louder than it ever did before. It went off every couple of minutes. And after a while, sorry, I got fed up. I said, okay, Natalia, go to sleep now. I'm tired. We can play in the morning. It stopped immediately. And in the morning, my son looked so happy. "Did you sleep well, dear?" I asked, intrigued. "No, but Natalia came. She said she misses me, and we got to play a little bit." A smile spread across my face. My husband smiled at me. Our family was together again. Wow. That stuff is hard. Sorry about that, but it just breaks my heart. Some people endure such sad things, And it doesn't seem fair, but at least it's kind of beautiful. I don't know. I can't imagine the pain, the sadness and the sorrow. It just hits me. Oof. Sorry about that, guys. I'm not usually overly emotional, but some things just really hit me. And often it has to do with little kids. Little kid stuff, whenever their hearts are breaking, it just breaks my heart. I can't do anything about it. Wow. Man, that stuff just, oof. I'm glad. I mean, it's a beautiful story, right? It's just this little girl had nobody, and this little boy was like her whole world. It's just tough at such a young age to try to understand what all this means. And I don't know if we understand it as adults much better, but we just get I don't know, maybe a little more dense, a little more calloused. But those little hearts are just so beautiful. Wow. Well, I'm glad it had a good ending. That she came to see that boy. Huh. Wow. Oof. That one hit me in the feels. I got all kinds of feels, ladies and gentlemen. Oof. What have we got? 6 minutes left. I'll try to find something happy here. I hope this one's happier. It's a quicker one. And I think that last one was beautiful. I mean, it is. It's just, man, that little girl saw so much pain in her. The person she loved the most was tormenting her and torturing her. And then she was just in this bad place, you know, and sick. But, you know, it's such a beautiful thing that little boy and her just, boom, became so close. But because it gave her something beautiful, you know, and that family really loved her. So that's really cool. I guess that's the lesson, right? I think things like that happen to teach us, you know, they teach us something. Maybe just to remind us to be good, to be nice, to be gentle with each other. Because you just don't know what everyone's carrying, you know? You don't know. Let me read this one. This one's from Texas. This happened 2 days ago. I was setting up some blankets in my living room so I could watch a movie. I didn't feel like watching it in my room, and my mom was in her room, about to go to bed, and I think I grabbed my stuffed bunny. Bun. No, you're not changing your name, Cha-Cha. You're not going to be Bun. Just putting that out there now before that happens. And set him down on the little bed that I made for myself in front of the TV. Then I went to the kitchen to get a bowl of pretzels and a drink for the movie. While I was reaching for a bowl out of the cabinet, I swear I heard someone giggling, and it sounded like it was coming from the living room. I froze, but then thought, well, it's probably the kids outside. You can always hear the kids playing outside, so I quickly got together my pretzels and drink and walked out of the kitchen. And as I was walking towards the TV, I noticed that Bun wasn't there where I had left him. I looked around and saw him laying on one of the couches. I went into my room and I asked Mom if she'd come out of her room while I was in the kitchen and move Bun. But she said no, and since the only other people there were my two cats, I was pretty confused and kind of freaked out. But I started calming down as I watched the movie. The movie was a comedy, so I remembered at one point in the movie, something really funny happened. I started cracking up. When I stopped laughing, I distinctly heard someone else laughing too. It sounded like a little girl, and it sounded like the same voice from before. I was totally freaked out, and I grabbed Bun, stopped the movie, and ran into my room and slammed the door behind me. My mom came out of her room and came into my room and asked me what the heck was going on, and I told her what happened, and all she did was laugh at me and my stupid imagination. Adults these days. Well, I haven't heard or experienced anything since, and now I'm curious as to who or what that was. Was it my imagination, or was it something supernatural? I think it was something supernatural, probably. I mean, it sounds like it, right? I don't know. But I'm glad I'm glad that story followed the other one. I mean, I'm not like sensitive about having feelings. Don't get me wrong. It's just when I get choked up, I mean, I literally get choked up. I can't read. I can't even speak. I just have to be quiet because my throat just, and when I get emotional, and that story was just so beautiful. We got a caller here. Let's get to this. Hello, you're on the air.
I have a paranormal experiment that I'd like to do live.
Oh, okay.
Reach out and grab my hand. You have to close your eyes and reach out and grab my hand. And I'm going to take you to a very special place that is one of the most very special places I've ever been. And it's not on this planet, but it is in the heavens. And close your eyes, and at the count of 3, I'm going to take you there.
Okay.
1, 2, 3. And I'm not going to tell you where it is, Brent, and you can open your eyes now.
Okay.
Now, did everything clear out of that studio in a matter of seconds? Did all that had been piling on to the back of your mind that was hampering you and hindering you somewhat, and whatever voice that was you heard earlier, did it all leave?
Yeah, I think so. You know what I did notice, honestly, is that my eyes were closed, but a very bright light came from this direction. Like I could see it inside my eyelids that it got very bright over this way. So I assumed that maybe that's an energetic light, you know?
It was very, very good. And maybe one day I'll tell you exactly where I took you.
Okay.
But for now, it's going to be a mystery. And great show. And keep up the good work, all right? And get some good rest tonight. And hey, Cha-Cha, we love you. And we love you all, okay?
All right.
Night.
Thank you, my lady. I appreciate you calling in. It's great to hear from you. I must have lost her. Okay. Yep, she hung up. Okay. Well, I don't know about you guys, but I think that's a show. I hope you guys enjoyed it. Again, I'm not making apologies for having tears for something that was sad. I mean, that's just honest. I can't be artificial, but just it's kind of cleansing too to let such things out. Maybe it's the energy of the story. Maybe the person that wrote it. I don't know, but it just hits me hard. So anyway, guys, thank you so much for being here. I really appreciate you guys so much. It's always amazing. I'm just so honored to know you all and to have you in this family that we've created. Thank you so much. So tomorrow night's Friday night. So 2-hour show tomorrow night. Don't forget to check out the podcast tomorrow. It'll be available, well, after midnight tonight. It should be available unless unless something's gone wrong. But I'm hoping that it'll be good. So anyway, I love you all. Be good, be kind, be nice. Take care of each other. Help each other out. Find the magic in every day. And remember to laugh as much as you guys can. All right, take care, guys. Love you bunches. And I'll see you tomorrow right here on the Paranormal Portal. Good night.